Hi everybody, this is Lynn from Creative Concept Crafts with a second video in our mushroom series, and this one is the windmill. So I've started out by all the pieces have been cut out. If you look, we have 3 windows and we have the door panel plus 2 plain panels. This is one that's adaptable. You can have either the 3 windows, you can have all plain panels, you can put the door in or not. The choice is entirely up to you, but this is the way I chose to lay it out. So I've pre-scored all the pieces ready to start gluing them together. So we're starting off with the first piece, a little thin line down the score line, down the outside edge, and lining up the score line at the bottom and the top line. Press down as you go. Burnish down and flip over to make sure that you've got a good adherence with your glue. And we're going to continue with the next piece. So a thin line on both sides, lining up top and bottom, burnish it down. Just making sure that you get them lined up. Flip over, burnish on the other side, and we're going to fast forward this little bit for the other 3 pieces till you get them all together. So that's the base together for the time being. Now I'm going to bring in the mats and layers, just laying them over the respective panels to start off with. And you'll find out that obviously the panels line up exactly to their counterparts underneath. So we're ready again to glue them on. Fine line right away around the outside. And a squiggle in the middle. That is a very fine tip glue I'm using, by the way, so less is more with glue. If you use too much, you'll end up with your card going wavy. So again, burnishing down to the base piece. Fine line all the way around the edges. Around the aperture opening. And then a squiggle in the middle. So it'll line up exactly with the aperture underneath. Burnish it down. And onto the door panel. Ignore the actual door itself to start off, just do the actual matte piece. So we're going again round the outsides, round the apertures, round the door, and then squiggle what's left. Just have to lift the door up to get everything into position for this piece. Burnish it down. Now you can lift up the door piece and just glue the door pieces together. Just making sure I got everything lined up before I started to glue the door. I'm just pressing it together and making sure it's burnished, the door is burnished back as well. And now we're whizzing through the other pieces because we've already shown those slow. last piece. Squiggle in the middle. Position it down round the aperture. And burnish down. And we're just going to pop that base completed. At this stage, if you want to, you can actually add the window and door panels, the additional panels. This is the roof sections now that I'm starting to line up. There's 6 pieces. And again, I've burnished the score lines, ready to start gluing. Again, lining up to the score line, line up at the top, flip over and burnish down. Line up, pay close attention to the top score line on this one. And there's the roof sections complete. And ready for the mats. And you'll find these are not symmetrical, so the elongated side of the mat fits along the side that's been scored. So again, the same thing is to line up. You've got about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, burnish down with that elongated section towards your score line. Should I say the line that you join together. Reminds me of a little umbrella at this stage. Just burnish that final piece down. And there's the roof complete. I'm going to push it to side to allow it to dry a little bit and bring the base back in. We're going to join up the final section. I'm just curving those score lines over a little bit again because they were flattened down. And we're going to add glue to the final piece. Again, lining up from the top to the bottom. Just getting it down far enough that I can flip over and burnish down inside. Just checking that everything's in line. Okay, now I'm going to flip down to about 90 degrees the base panel sections, and you'll notice that I'm over one side and under on the other side. So we've got like an under and over all the way around. And we're bringing in now the base hexagon. Just gluing 1/2 inch round the outer edge all the way around. And just start off at one end, push it down, and then I'm going to rotate it round to be able to push the next piece down, rotate, push down, and you can line this up as you're going around, which is why I didn't put any glue on to the little pieces before. It's easier to sort of push into shape if you do it this way. As long as you've one lapped over and one under, they push into shape quite easily. Push it over, and I'm going to get inside with a ruler to just push those 1/2 inch score lines down all the way around inside. There we go. putting a reinforcement on the base. You don't have to do this, depends what you're going to use the box for. If it's just for a tea light, then it doesn't really need this, but if you wanted to put, say, a candle inside it for a gift, then the little bit of reinforcement will probably help. You could also, if you wanted, put some ribbon in the middle on the base, coming up on the outside, which is what I did with the mushroom house, but I didn't actually do it on this particular one. I'm now going to add the window and door decorative panels, which if you wanted to, you could do earlier. And here we're finishing off, just burnishing again to finish off the roof, so the final piece being glued. And burnish it down. It comes together beautifully at the top, does that? There we go. Now in come the little decorative window and door panels, which, as I said earlier, probably would be easier done if you actually add them while the pieces are flat, but it can be done at this stage. So there's a tiny little panel that goes over the opening on the door panel. It's just a little bit of glue just round the outside all the way. The two small window panels above the door. It takes my glue just a minute just to start to stick. If you've got a quick grab glue, then great, but as I live in Spain, I don't have access to a lot of these fancy glues that you can get. I buy locally, and I find it does what I want it to do, so I'm quite happy. The only thing it won't stick, I think, is glitter card and occasionally some of the coated cards, and in which case I will use it, but in addition I'll use red tape as well as a security. Little door handle going on there, to which I've added tiny little a couple of pieces of foam tape just behind the handle bit, and these are the slightly larger windows on the side panels. Again, just a little bit of glue all the way around the outside just to set them into place. Just making sure it's caught. Two more pieces to go. And there are the decorative panels completed. Okay, now we're just going to push the roof aside as well and bring in the pieces for the rotor. So we have two base panels and two decorative pieces. I cut the decorative pieces out of photographic card. The rest of the box has been made with a matte 250 gram. This is about a 280 gram photographic that I use, which sits in the middle of the base, the white base piece. So I'm just making sure I've got everything centralised before I burnish it down. And then we repeat with the other piece. Line up top and bottom. I like how the glue gives you that little couple of minutes just wiggle room. Burnish on the other side. Now we've just got to centralise these pieces, so I'm actually using my board to find the centre of the piece. Turn the other piece at a 90-degree angle, and again find the centre. And if you look, I'll place my fingers over where I need the glue in a second. Between those two, I've got my finger on. And I'll just pop a little bit of glue in the little square piece between those two lines. Again, making sure you've got the centre so that you're forming a cross. Turn over again and burnish that glue down because there's photographic card involved there as well, so make sure you've got it down. Now we've got an awful strange looking piece here for the little arm to hold the rotor in place. So I've pre-prepared all the score lines, and there's one single piece that comes off. That's the first piece that you're going to glue. It's just like a single little cube. Glue that one in place, and you can see a cube starting to form. Turn it upside down to the 4 flat pieces. I'm just pushing them back a little bit for a minute. Glue the first piece. Pop your first side down. I'm just flipping it around. Put some glue on the second piece. Push the second piece down, turn it around, glue on top, and your last piece down. And there's your flat base. That's the piece that you'll attach to the rotor, the flat piece. Now we've got 3 little pieces that fold up inside. So if you fold the sides in first and the bottom piece last, the other piece comes over on the top on an angle. Put some glue on those 3 little, I've put it on the top. So pop that one down. You'll find it comes down on an angle. So get it burnished down to those 3 little pieces that were inside. And then you've got the last little cube to glue and pop that down. And make sure everything's connected and burnished. It's a mighty strange looking piece, but it does the work. Now to attach this, I'm using a glue gun. So the first piece I'm attaching is the little diagonal shape, the angled shape, which goes to the roof, about halfway in the middle, and push to make sure that the hot glue takes hold. Then add glue to the outer cube and put in the rotor on at a 45 degrees, so you've got it on a cross shape, and just push and hold for a couple of seconds. And there she is. Now then, I've just created a little hinge to hold the lid on top of the windmill. Because of the weight of the rotor, I felt that this held it better. So I've got a piece, I think it's about 2 inches by 1 inch. I've scored at 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches. I've put some double-sided tape on the inside of one side and on the outside of the other piece. So just a little piece of double-sided tape. I'm going to add the first piece to the back, the piece directly opposite the door panel. So I'm just removing the tape. Add that to the back opposite the door. Line up the score line with the top of your box. And if you look, the 2 mounting folds are these. 2 mounting folds. Now we've got double-sided tape on the top of the other folded section. Remove that, line up your rotor with your front door and take hold of the piece at the back, and it just goes along the edge. So you're just pushing that hinge just to the edge of your box of lid. And there's the little windmill complete.